Alright guys, welcome back to Killzone Cavalry class. What I've got for you this time is video on cavalry versus cavalry. It's one of the kind of things that people have been asking me about. How do you actually face cavalry without running around in circles and without jumping over one another left and right, without missing each other. You can kind of see what I'm showing you now is fairly typical of most people's experience of facing other cavalry, where you're just kind of running around each other. So what I'm going to try and show in this video is how I try to avoid those kinds of just run-ins where you're not really getting anything done. Some strategies I have for maneuvering around horses and maybe hoping to get them to places you want to go. And hopefully we can kind of pick up some tips from that. Thanks as always for all the kind of comments I'm getting and lessons I'm learning from you guys as you kind of share how you guys are playing the horse, and I kind of learn a little bit from that as well. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to point to is how critical spotting is when you're facing other cavalry. And the first thing I always say in each of my videos is to take a look at your mini-map, zoom size, and bump it up all the way. You can see my map is really far out, and I can really track that guy for as long as I need to, and I can see, of course, everything else is going on. So you'll see through a lot of these clips that I'm relying pretty heavily on my mini-map to show me not just where the other cavalry guy is at, but also what direction he's facing, how he's going to try and approach me. Because again, the thing I want to avoid is getting in just little circle runarounds. So overall, the tip I'm going to kind of talk about most throughout this whole video is basically just employ a lot of different kinds of strategies besides just running around in circles around the dude. So you can see I'm throwing grenades, I'm looking around to see if I can stop and throw him off course. In general, that's what you're going to see a lot of through most of these tips is try to do something besides just get in these like common one-on-one modes. I'm trying a lot of different things here, so I'm just trying to find a good opening in which, or an opportunity in which I can do something, or I can make him make a mistake. Here, I can finally get a good angle on him because he slowed down. Having pulled out his rifle. So again, employing many strategies is generally what I'll talk through, and some of those specific strategies is what I'll kind of go through here. First thing is the kind of head-on, when the guy is directly charging at you and you have a face-to-face run, a lot of runway face-to-face. So here's what I do is I just, as you know, you can switch your camera angle. What I end up doing is I swap to my non-default side, so I swing on my left side. You can kind of see that here. So I've got this approach. I switch and I run to the right side of him. And because I have the lance, I'll almost always win that face-to-face battle. You'll see a kind of a series of these in which I just show what that head-to-head runway looks like. It probably goes without saying that I use the lance more often than the sword just because it gives me a lot more reach. You have to time it a little bit, but here again, switch to my non-default camera, strike over my left shoulder so that I get him on my left side as I veer slightly to the right. And I've slowed down a lot here so you can see exactly what's happening. And the reason is because really the difficult part isn't moving to the right of the rider. The difficult part is getting the timing correct, especially with the lance. You'll know from my other video that the lance requires you to just strike a lot earlier than you expect, and it's even more so with a horse. So right here, I pulled that trigger so far in advance. And I'll even kind of replay that so you can see exactly right here is when I start holding the trigger, or where I start the lance strike, because then I know the horse is moving at me so quickly. I'll kind of touch back on that again, but really I just want to kind of continue re-emphasizing the point that when you get into these head-to-head battles, I do really go out of my way to let the guy know I'm going to charge right at him, but I go on my left side, or I strike over my left side like that every single time. I don't think I've ever tried to use the default camera view. And then one more here just to show you that if you get it really right, you don't even, it's so smooth you don't even get interrupted and you can keep riding past them. Alright, okay, one more, and this time in slow motion so you can see it play out. So smooth and so satisfying. Who am I kidding? I've got so many of these because it's just my favorite way to, see a guy come in, time it, especially in these really unique places that they would never even really expect, right? Okay, so enough of that. What I'll probably talk about now is the use of grenades. So, in general in cavalry, your AT grenades are just super, super useful. Very versatile, but they're also useful in doing that thing I mentioned earlier, which is just trying to break up the route of your enemy. So right there I saw I didn't have a really great approach, but I can see he's going to follow me here. So what I do is I throw grenades, and even if he just stops, that lets me get into a much better position and get a more clean shot on him. It's honestly one of the reasons why I really don't mind when 2 or more horses are engaging me, because it breaks up the normal patterns that people are used to circling around, and it becomes more of a game about tracking the other person, or tracking them better. You know, whoever's tracking the other person better will usually get the better angle, rather than just trying to hit them dead on. So here, you know, I get these first couple of guys pretty quickly, but this third one, I'm going to have to do a little bit of work to break up his pattern, and you know, there I missed, but you know, we're going to get ourselves in a little circle pattern. But what I do is I just turn the other direction. Once I see that he starts shooting his rifle, I know it's safe for me to stop. So what I'm going to try and do is just get him into a place where he has to make a mistake, and that's exactly what happens here. Is he got a little too far away, let me get a really great runway on him. Again, here's another 2-horse situation. The use of the grenades here is what ends up being really critical. So I see right here that they're far enough away from me that I could probably throw grenades and they won't see me do it. I think in that case I threw them a little too far away. But what I'm able to do is take advantage of the fact that as they're coming over that hill, they can't see me as well. So I was able to come in and get that strike that way. So this clip has a little bit more of the right distance to be away when you're trying to throw grenades back on them. Generally, I try to do this over dunes, especially in Sinai and, you know, the Oil of Empires maps, because if you do it at the right timing, they won't even see you throw it on the ground, and they'll run directly over those grenades. Run now. So this guy I actually want to focus on for a second, because what ends up happening is I get a little distant from him instead of circling around. So this is a scenario in which I could potentially get in a circle situation, but let me show you what happens. Like right here, I have the opportunity to chase him. What I do instead, like I said, I go the other direction and get the distance I need to come back around and get a better shot on him. So that ends up working well in my favor. This guy happens to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. And for the most part, this other guy too. I kind of saw him in the corner of my eye. I did a circle so I could get some range. Not a really great approach. I had that little jump, but at least that tank happened to be there as well. So when it comes to the rifle and fighting cav versus cav, what I generally say is whoever pulls out the rifle first is the person who dies. And the reason is because it slows you down, of course, and lets the other guy run up on you. But it just takes so long to actually kill another rider with the rifle. I mean, look at this guy. I'm like hitting him fairly frequently. Well, those few shots I missed, but especially now that the rider can heal while moving, it's just almost impossible to kill. I can't imagine ever killing someone that way. Now that said, I will use it in very specific situations. So you remember this clip, I throw grenades on the ground and I know he's almost dead, so I do try to pull out the rifle and get a couple shots on him, but that's it. I move immediately back to getting my distance from him, and I'm mostly just, again, thinking about how do I make him make a mistake? How do I get a better angle on him and better runway to get my over the left shoulder strike? This scenario is similar to what you saw last time, where I've got these dunes and I'm gonna try and get a good approach on this guy, but in the case that I don't, ended up on the right side, that means I could have potentially gotten swiped from somebody using the default view. But here I see him chase me. I go over the dunes so he can't see me throw the grenades, and in this case he has to get back into the combat zone, so runs directly over the grenades. So I think eventually I'm going to make a video in which I talk about the basic movements of the horse and some of the nuances about how to maneuver it. But one thing I'll point out here is that you actually have 2 inputs into the direction of your camera and the direction of the rider. So on Xbox at least, you have your left control stick, which kind of moves your the horse itself, but you also have the right stick, which controls the direction of your camera. Well, both of them in concert end up working together. So I'm going to go back through this clip to show you exactly how I got that second guy, because what I ended up doing was, he didn't realize that I can make a really, really tight circle if I use both of my directional inputs, and I end up getting him purely because I'm making a tighter circle, and a lot of people don't realize that you can do that. So you see it kind of play out here, where I get the inside cut on him by using both of my control sticks, and I'm pretty sure it works on console as well. I'm guessing it's, you use D-pad or whatever it is. Alright, one more method, and unfortunately I don't have a lot of clips on this because I don't do it often, but especially if you have the lance, you can usually just straight up stop when they're chasing you, and if you have enough distance, just turn around and let them run into your lance. In that case, I was lucky enough to have a teammate who took a bullet for me and blocked my enemy, but in general, just consider it something that's in your pocket, one of your tools when I say employ many strategies. All right, I'll say the same thing I said in the lance video. Know that your lance's animation is usually kind of wonky, so even if the visual animation doesn't sync up, you are in fact having a consistent hitbox. And I'll use this clip again because I think one of the issues people have is with hitting horses from the side. And what I end up doing in those scenarios is I pull the trigger as if the timing of the lance is going to be correct, even if I know I'm going to jump. In fact, I do it shortly before I jump. And again, the animation is really wonky. Like right there, it didn't even connect with the guy. But think of it in terms of where your hitbox is going to be, because that's actually always consistent. All right, and then the last kind of thing I'll say is ever since Apocalypse DLC, and this is not super consistent, is a lot of people are reporting that you can hit horses directly with grenades, and I've actually had this happen once or twice, as in this clip. But I've also been hit by grenades directly after Apocalypse and not been killed, so I don't know what to say about that other than it is possible, so, kind of know that. And then, just so you guys know that I don't win every duel I get into, I've been trying to incorporate some more clips from, really smart writers on my friends list who do occasionally get the best of me too. It's kind of fun to think through how they did it. So here's my man, Romoyo Stragos. I probably butchered his name, but right there you can see he was smart about seeing me come straight at him, so he dodged. And this guy, kind of now in a position where he's chasing me, so I'm far enough ahead of him that I actually think that I've got the best of him right here. I'm assuming he's going to come through here, and I'm right, but I end up missing the strike. I think I expected to go on my right side, and because I was curving, my rider struck on the left side instead. So here I throw grenades down, but he's actually gotten the better of me there too. He got me way in advance, and that threw me off enough that I approached him on the wrong side, and he got me even with that sword. Alright, so that's it for now. I've been doing a lot more gameplay clips. It's a little bit easier for me to just talk through in general what I'm doing on Conquest. I'm going to do some operations gameplay soon, because it is a fairly different game style. You've got to stick back a little bit more in operations. So I'll do some more videos in that way. So thanks again for all you guys' comments. Let me know, what works, what doesn't work for you guys. Sorry, in the past I've had some weird audio. Hopefully I've gotten that taken care of this time around. But keep subscribing, keep liking, keep commenting. Let me know what you want to see next. And Godspeed, fellow writers. Catch you next time.